Right now at 6, for the first time ever, we go inside Portland's ICE facility and learn about a change in tactics from ICE officers.
Then new video and questions about the moments federal agents took a Beaverton man into custody.
It was unreal. It's a reality that a lot of immigrant families are living through.
Then, from new faces to fresh upgrades, Rip City is ready to tip off the regular season.
I think it's going to be more fast-paced. I love the fact that there's a lot of versatility.
And later, the new venue you might say will fill the sweet spot when it comes to live music in the Rose City. Good evening, and first at 6, new developments in the legal fight over National Guard troops in the Rose City. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko.
And I'm Christine Pitawanich. A lot happening, really, so here's a recap. First, Oregon's AG confirmed the state plans to ask the Ninth Circuit Court for a larger panel of judges to review the case. That's after a split decision essentially cleared the way for the president to send troops.
And we say essentially because a second restraining order is still in place, with a federal judge here in Portland set to hear arguments on Friday morning on whether to lift it or potentially to wait for the Ninth Circuit process to play out.
Meanwhile, Senator Jeff Merkley wrapped up a 22-hour marathon speech on the Senate floor this afternoon, a protest of the president's policies as the government shutdown continues. We're covering it all with live team coverage, including video of a new ICE arrest in Beaverton.
But first to Kyle Aboshi. And Kyle, you were able to go inside that ICE building on the south waterfront. What was that like?
So after repeated requests, ICE allowed us inside. Although our access and what we could film were limited, we felt it important to try and see conditions firsthand, get an understanding of what those in the building are doing. The ICE facility in Portland has been the epicenter of protests. For months, a small group of demonstrators has gathered outside, sometimes clashing with federal officers assigned to protect it. Previously, local media had not been given access, but after repeated requests, we were allowed inside. Federal officers used an upper floor window to access the roof. Here they watch demonstrators below, and in the past have used this position to fire pepper balls and other crowd-controlled devices. Here on the roof of the building, you can see they've set up plywood to block and protect some of the windows. Also, they've got floodlights set up to shine a brighter light on the crowd below. Several floors up, on the top of the building, there are more temporary floodlights. The ICE building sits in Portland's south waterfront, neighboring sleek high-rise apartments and condos. Inside, the facility is used as a processing center for those accused of immigration violations. It's also an office for investigations and check-in for people moving through the citizenship process. No one was available to go on camera or provide any quotes, but I was able to sit down for more than a half an hour with local representatives from ICE and ask questions. One topic: schools. Starting this week, local ICE officials said they've told ICE officers to no longer stage or meet up in school parking lots after tensions in the community. They say generally they don't make arrests on school grounds. When asked why ICE officers wear masks, officials explained it's to prevent doxing. ICE officials also discussed recent cases of neighbors trying to block federal agents with their cars, including this situation in Hillsborough last week. Federal agents admit it's raised concern and forced ICE to rethink tactics, although no specifics were given. Officials note if someone interferes with an operation, it can be criminal and will be prosecuted. As for security, local ICE officials note it's not ICE officers protecting the building. It's the Federal Protective Service and other sub-agencies. Local ICE representatives say they're still able to do their job without much interruption and admit there's been a recent surge in immigration enforcement activity in Oregon, although could not provide specifics or data.
Yeah, interesting to get our first look inside the building and a sense of what's happening there. Any sense of how many people, though, are working inside and what the conditions are like in there?
No hard data on number of people. As far as conditions, it is definitely a secure building. Mm-hmm. After driving in, we had our vehicle examined, equipment checked, then went through metal detectors, kind of like the airport. They wouldn't say how many people are actually working there. What's interesting is there are basically two operations happening at once. There's the day-to-day inside the building with ICE, which includes Homeland Security, investigations, and immigration enforcement. Then on the outside, there are federal agents and private security there just to protect the building. And that staffing obviously increases during the evening hours when there's more protest activity, but Definitely two different sides of this.
Yeah, glad you were able to finally go in, ask them some questions face to face, and we got some answers. Thank you, Kyle. Developing tonight, cell phone video shows the moments ICE agents detained a Beaverton man on his way home from work Monday. Now his family is fighting to bring him home.
Celine Stevens is live in Beaverton after speaking to his stepdaughter. Celine, what'd she tell you?
David, Christine, she and her family are devastated after their dad was detained Monday morning here at the Beaverton Town Square, just up the street from their home. She says federal agents told her they had a warrant, but when she asked to see it, they drove away.
I don't have a warrant! They took him! No!
Cell phone video captured the chaos on October 20th around 9 in the morning as federal agents took Jose Perez into custody. His stepdaughter, Arais Martinez, started recording as the agents drove away.
It was unreal. It's a reality that a lot of immigrant families are living through.
Martinez says her stepdad has no criminal record. She tells us he was on the phone with her mom on his way to work when it happened.
When I showed up, his car was surrounded by like 3 to 5 blacked out SUVs. I didn't get to see him. The windows were shattered when I got there. My little brother and my older brother got to witness all of this.
Martinez recounting the moment she saw agents surrounding her dad's car.
When I got there, the first ICE agent, he was wearing a police vest. I knew he was not a police. He had no badge on him. He would not identify himself. His face was covered.
She then asked him for a warrant.
He told me, he's like, I do have a warrant, just go get your ID. So I turned around, I grabbed my ID, and he was walking away. And so I followed him.
The SUVs seen driving away, and Martinez and her family left distraught. Martinez says Perez came to the U.S. over 20 years ago from Mexico and has been working as a chef for over 15 years. She says she's only been able to talk to him on the phone for a few minutes once a day when he calls from the Northwest Ice Processing Center in Tacoma.
The first day that he got there, they gave him a glass of milk and a banana. The food there is expensive, they have to pay. If we have money, we have to pay for him to be able to eat, a cup of noodles.
Now, the family is raising money through a GoFundMe to help them financially survive.
All our financial stuff, like we have rent coming up, we have car payments to come up with, and, we don't know how we're gonna get this money.
I reached out to ICE for comment, but as of this time, they still have not responded to my questions. Martinez says the money they raise is also going to be used for a lawyer, and that lawyer will be meeting with her dad this Friday. Back to you.
Celine Stevens reporting live in Beaverton. Thank you, Celine.
Well, after 22 hours and 36 minutes, Senator Jeff Merkley finally ended his marathon speech on the Senate floor. The senator calling it a form of protest against President Trump's, quote, grave threats to democracy.
President Trump wants us to believe that Portland, Oregon, in my home state, is full of chaos and riots, because if he can say to the American people that there are riots, he can say there's a rebellion. And if there's a rebellion, he can use that to strengthen his authoritarian grip on our nation.
Well, meanwhile, the Senate is set to hold a 12th vote on a House-passed bill to end the government shutdown now in its 4th week, though, like the 11 before it, it is widely expected to fail.
Stay with KGW for continuing coverage of the troop deployment legal battle and the impact of immigration policies on our community. You can look for the latest here on KGW.com and on KGW+.
All right, another big story we're following. Let's talk about your forecast now with an incoming weather impact alert.
So, Matt, what's the timing looking like for this?
We've got a couple storms on the way. Tomorrow's our last dry day for a while because that first storm will hit on Friday. You can see the Pacific getting super active. This big long line of cloud, thousands of miles extending basically from Japan now to the west coast. So it's a very strong jet stream powering several strong storms. Mostly cloudy and dry tomorrow, but on Friday it's going to get rainy and it's going to get windy as an atmospheric river washes into the Washington and Oregon coast. Then on Saturday, a second storm spins up offshore. That'll provide us with even stronger winds most likely, and of course more rain. So weather impact alerts for Friday and Saturday for the two storms coming back to back. Now there's a little bit showing up on Doppler radar off the coast right now. That's a precursor system, very weak. We might get a sprinkle tonight, but no big deal with that. The other aspect of these storm systems, though, is that come Saturday night, it's going to get colder and the snow level drops down to 3,000 feet with some heavy snow in the Cascades. So two things on that. The roads are going to be snowy in the passes. People aren't used to driving in snow in October, even over, say, government camp. Be ready for that. We don't want you to get stuck. And anybody planning on hiking, going out hunting, or mushroom foraging this weekend for whatever you plan to do in the Cascades, it is going to get snowy. So make sure you have a way to get out and that your vehicle is ready for driving in snow. On the Oregon coast, we have a beach hazard statement for big sneaker waves and a high surf advisory on the Washington coast as the swells come upwards of 20 feet. So again, some pretty wild weather on the way. In the meantime, great picture of a comet. We'll share that with you a little bit later on, guys.
Yeah, we'll see you in a bit. Thank you, Matt.